Okay, it appears that we're now live. I'm Adam with DSL, Dropship Lifestyle, and I was fortunate enough to get John, who's a Dropship Lifestyle coach on the phone. How's it going?
Hey Adam, good man, good. How are you?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking. So, what we're going to be doing, the format, just for those that are going to be tuning in, we already have 4 viewers. Wow. Is that we're going to be talking to John. He wrote 2 articles recently about, the first one was about 8 steps on how to maximize the value of your store when you're selling your dropship or e-commerce store. And then he wrote a follow-up post that's related, which is related to scaling your store using outsourcers. So we'll be talking a bit about that. I'll be looking in the YouTube channel and try to get to as many of your questions as possible. I'll see if I can get to the Facebook group as well. But the best place to leave your questions is going to be live during the session. If you're catching the replay, post the questions below this video somewhere, either if it's in Facebook or YouTube or wherever we're posting it, and we'll get to as many of your questions as possible. So, and also make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get this content that we've been putting out. We're going to be doing successes discussions with both our students, with coaches, with maybe partners and things like that. So look out for that. So without further ado, the first, I guess, question, the first thing that I would like to know is please tell me about your entrepreneurial journey and what made you want to start business in the first place, all the way through finding Dropship Lifestyle.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, look, I think from talking to lots of DSL members over this year, I think my story is actually probably not that uncommon. I'd wanted to work for myself, run my own business. I think since a pretty young age, just because I'm a bit of somebody who has a bit of a problem with authority. I don't like doing what other people tell me to do. So working for other people often was a bit of a difficulty for me. But I think for a long time when I was younger, like in my early 20s and that sort of time, things just didn't really click in my head about how to go out and get into business. And I was probably too busy having fun and partying and traveling too much to worry about it as well. But later in my 20s, I'd been working full time, for quite some time, working a 40, 50-hour week. And I'd been doing that for some years. And man, I was just getting so sick of it that this thought of wanting to work for myself came back to me. And I just started looking around at, really what are my options to get out of this cycle of working, 9 to 5 or longer, and what are some ways that I can get into business quickly and easily to start getting exposed to that. I didn't have a hell of a lot of capital or anything to get started, so I was really out there looking for what are some reasonably low cost ways, to start making enough money to get me out of this full-time work.
Nice. So what were you doing, I guess, like in your prior life? Like what did you do, if you don't mind sharing? It's up to you, but as an occupation, and then how did you find Dropship Lifestyle? What made you want to like pull the buying lever and say, hey, this is kind of what I think it's going to be a way out of that, 9 to 5 or working for someone else and not having to deal with authority, and you be your own authority.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, the thing I did for the longest, I suppose, for work prior to doing drop shipping, I have a background in human resources and industrial relations. So I worked in that space for many years, both for other businesses, but also sort of for myself as a consultant, which more or less was just a full-time job anyway. I was just being paid by somebody else, still working full-time hours, but technically I suppose I was doing it for myself, but it didn't really feel like it. So that's what I was doing beforehand, completely unrelated. I had no background in, internet marketing or e-commerce or anything like that at all. And then really how I came to DSL was I think knew from when I was traveling the early members of Dropship Lifestyle, who I kind of had been following on Facebook for a while, and I'd seen their journey, and kind of saw that they were finding success with it. And I thought, well, I should probably look into this a bit further. And at that time, I think was 2014. I can't remember which version of the course it was, but it was a much earlier version, not as big or as polished as it is now.
Yeah.
But look, I saw some of Anton's videos, and I felt that compared to a lot of other sort of courses or things that you could do, DSL just seemed a lot more genuine, and I just got a good feeling from Anton and his approach, and that he had a real sense of just wanting to help people out and get them started and finding success like he did. And that really just attracted me to the course. And so, yeah, I bought in and never looked back from there.
Great. So just to let you know, I don't know if you see that or not, but we have 26 viewers on right now. So hello. I'm talking to dropship lifestyle coach John Warren, who has been in the program for a couple of years now, and he's been coaching for a while. And just to let you know, Carlos said, "Hey everyone." Store Light at Dusk says hi there. Antonio says hi, hello. Steven says hey. So we got a lot of hellos and heys and everything. So, and hi. So we got a mix of welcome. So hello everyone. So we're talking today again with John Warren. We're going to be going through some questions about outsourcing we got from the community and some other things. So by the way, in case you haven't figured out, John is from Australia. And John, if you could, whenever you did find the course in 2014, tell us about, what kind of like roadblocks you ran into, what kind of pitfalls. A lot of people will find it hard to get started in Australia too. So if you could kind of walk us through some of that stuff and let us know kind of how you got your start and what was some issues along the way and how you overcame those.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, for me, I think definitely there were a few roadblocks to begin with, just because when I started, there weren't a lot of other Australians already in the course, as far as I could tell. The forum was around back then, and there were a few Aussies on there talking about stuff, but none of them, to me, seem to actually be up and running and have any successful stores yet. So I think, because Australia is, it's different to the US. We have a smaller population, wasn't yet so common with suppliers. Certainly working out how to, choose the right niche and, find suppliers, because there weren't a hell of a lot of other dropshipping stores to look at often. That really was sort of my initial kind of roadblock. So I just had to kind of trial and error my way through a lot of that, really, because there weren't a lot of other people to touch base with at that time. Just kept trying until I found the right mix of how to do it. Once I figured that out, just kept moving forwards from there. And, I think this is still something that a lot of people outside of the US struggle with a little bit. But I think the upside now is, from when I started, is we have now a really great community of people in Australia, in Canada, in the UK, who are trying things in different countries. And that's, for somebody new who's starting today, there now is really quite a number of successful people outside of the US that you can, communicate with, whether it's a coach or somebody else on one of the Facebook groups, to find out how to make it work for yourself.
Nice. So you work with a lot of students that have similar issues that, to you getting started. What would you tell a student, just, in a nutshell, having trouble getting started, finding a niche or finding suppliers, the same roadblocks you ran into? What would you tell them to help, besides getting a dropship lifestyle coach? What would you tell them to help shortcut the process or make it easier?
Look, I think, to be honest, I speak to people about niche selection more than anything else through the coaching, right? And I reckon 90% of the time, most people actually have the answer to the niche that they should do in front of them all along. But what they really struggle with is self-doubt and overthinking or overanalyzing what they're doing. There are a hell of a lot of good niches out there for people to do. There's no perfect niches. I've yet to see a perfect niche that, you know, is just like this thing that's come down from heaven and you're going to make $1 million. It doesn't exist, but there are a lot of really good niches that can be equally profitable. And most people have one or two of those on their list, but they really just need to, you know, a lot of people are just fearful of making that first big decision and getting it wrong. I haven't seen that many people get that decision wrong. So I think really my biggest advice for people to shortcut the process is, you know, check off the things that Anton talks about and then just make a decision. Forget about going any further than that and looking for different tools to analyze things and all this sort of stuff. It's not necessary and it won't help you. Just have a bit of faith in yourself, you know, pick your best idea and just get stuck into it, because you'll learn so much more from just getting in and doing it than you will sitting there worrying about your niche for 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And like I say, if you followed the criteria in the course for selecting your niche, very few people actually choose a bad niche.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like a lot of things, I think, is you got to find your audience. You got to do the right steps. You got to approach it with a business acumen, and consistency is a lot of what people I talk to, especially like fellow member Matt, who I'm sure you met at the retreat, and then Kate, who I spoke to recently. I don't know if you've seen that chat, but I'm gonna link it underneath. Where she's from Australia too, and she didn't have a whole lot of business experience before starting Dropship Lifestyle. She had some, but then, you know, she came into the program. Her first month, she had 17K in sales. She didn't overthink things. She just went through the steps. And, you know, a big thing is to follow the system, I think, and leverage coaches like yourself when folks get stuck. Because, you know, you're coming from experience, so it's something that I've run into. So, if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, look, and certainly Kate and Matt, they're, you know, both killing it absolutely in Australia. So it's great to see those guys doing better and better. Look, apart from what I said before, I think, yeah, the other, you know, the other big things I think for me that helped me be successful was I really did put, you know, every minute that I could into it. And I was consistent, like setting my first stores up. I was just doing it every day for about 2 months, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody has different amounts of time that they can work on this stuff, and that's okay. Some people have 4 hours a day. Some people have 1 hour a day. Some people have 2 hours a day. It doesn't matter what your time is. What's important is that you just, you know, make a deal with yourself that you're going to use whatever time you have every day until you start finding that success. And setting yourself up like that really will set you up for the rest of your business experience and life in a good way. Once you can make that commitment to yourself, you know, to just keep pushing until you either find a way or reach the point of success where you're starting to get the results that you were hoping for.
Good. So I guess this kind of segues into the outsourcing discussion. So if you could, I guess, walk us through, you know, how did you find, okay, so you listed, just to set the context, okay, you listed your store recently for 195K. That's what the first article was about, and how to take steps to scale it to that point. And then you wrote, you know, the related article about outsourcers and everything like that. So if you can kind of give everybody watching, what's the snapshot, the before and after? So how many what was your workflow before? Like how many hours were you putting into it before you got outsources? And then how did you get to that point and say, hey, look, my business is growing. I need help. I'm raising my hand. I'm not waving the flag, but I'm raising my hand and saying, hey, I need help. And, you know, my business, and I'm going to admit to myself I need help in my business to scale so I can kind of work on my business. If you could kind of give us the workflow of what got you there and then what got you to scale past that with outsourcers.
Sure. Okay. So I think that was kind of really my personal outsourcing journey, if you like. It kind of really had two stages. The first stage was, and just going back a few steps, for the first good 12 months or a little bit more that I was running a dropship store, I was still working full time, right? Because I was building that store up to the point where I had the monthly or weekly income to leave that job. And I think after I'd been running it for a while, and the store grew consistently month on month, but it kind of reached the point where in the particular niche I was focused on, it kind of hit a plateau. So it was doing well, but then it kind of just, started flattening out, and it wasn't quite where I needed it to be. And I identified that one of the things I needed to do was bring in more suppliers and a lot more products, because, I wasn't quite where my competitors were on that front, right? And I knew from doing setting up the store that there's quite a large time investment involved in bringing on a bunch of new suppliers. I was looking at adding up to 1,000 new products. There's a lot of products in this niche, right? And the thought of doing all of that kind of made me feel a little bit ill, to be honest, because one of the things I like the least about dropshipping is adding products, doing product descriptions, optimizing all that stuff. I don't like it. And I just thought, man, I cannot face doing that again. So I'm just going to pay somebody else to do it. And so that was really the start. And I basically then set up a team of, at that point, freelancers to tasks, I suppose, involved with adding new products to a store. So, editing and resizing images, writing product descriptions, building and uploading the product CSVs, and then optimizing the product pages. And, after there's a little bit of trial and error, I really got a little team of people that were able to work on that, without too much management. And I was able to, in a pretty quick amount of time compared to what I could do it, like a matter of a couple of weeks, get, I can't remember exactly how many products in the end, but, 700-800 products or something uploaded into the site, which I then started marketing. And, within a month or two, the sales on that store had doubled. Which was at that point from about, consistently 35 to 40,000 sort of in sales a month, up to, hitting 70,000, 80,000 in sales a month. And that really was the difference that allowed me to then say I can get out of my full-time work now, because, I've now got the monthly sort of profit coming through to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
So I did.
Those numbers. So, by the way.
Yeah. And so, yeah. It was a great feeling. But the flip side of that, of course, is that I had all these products, I was upping my marketing game, bringing a lot more traffic to the store. And of course, then what started to happen was the customer service increased. I had more orders to process, I had more shipping issues, more return issues, requests, and all of these bits and pieces started increasing. And I quit my job, but I still was working on this stuff like 20 hours a week or more, right? And, not actually getting the time I wanted to focus on actually growing the business and exploring other business opportunities that were starting to sort of pop up for me. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go back to what I did before, and I'm just going to pay somebody else to do all this stuff for me, right? And so once again, that's what I did. And, this time I went down, rather than working with freelancers, I started working with an outsourcing company who could provide me a few managed virtual assistants to do all the customer service, order processing, payments to suppliers, emails, the whole lot. They're just doing that in an ongoing way full time now. And that sort of reduced my time per week down from over sort of 20 plus hours to about 5 hours a week.
I guess you just missed that 1 hour. Yeah, doing a 4 hour work, you're doing a 5. So
yeah, I'm doing the 5 hour work week, sure. I wish it was only 5. I mean, that's one store, so but what that's given me time to do is look at other things. So I'm now working on 2 private label businesses and exploring going into a few other drop shipping businesses that I'd been looking to set up. So that's given me the time to do that. And there's obviously, yes, there's a cost involved in that outsourcing. But the way to look at outsourcing is that you pay a bit of short-term pain to allow you to have the time to increase your profit to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. And let's zero in on that for a moment, because a lot of people are scared, that they're not going to get a good return on their investment. I think with outsourcing, they have a lot of fear. They don't, they've read stuff online. We all have to be editors nowadays. We have to figure out what's the best information for us. So when you were looking at outsourcing, tell us a little bit about your fear of outsourcing. Like, what were you feeling at that time? I know it sounded like you were frustrated, but I'm not going to speak for you. You were frustrated enough maybe to, hey, I don't like doing these product descriptions. I don't like doing this. I don't like doing that. What else was going on in your mind when you got to that point?
Oh, yeah, look, definitely when I was first going into it and first starting to experiment with it, that, oh, man, different things like, nobody can do it as good as me. I'm just going to have to end up, what if they do it wrong? What if they screw up my site? What if I have to go back and check it all anyway? I might as well just do it myself to begin with. And so these are, people tell me that they have these fears.
Hello? I think we're having some technical difficulties. I don't know if it's the connection on Jean's side, but I'm seeing myself, so I guess we'll wait a moment. So sorry about that. It won't hopefully take too long. And we'll get to as many of your questions as possible. I see some coming in and that I'm going to ask John if we can reconnect. There's one from Steven and Christian, I believe, and I think there's probably a couple other things. So we'll get to them as best as we can. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna just make sure John is still there. Hang on one quick moment. So it looks like John came back on. Okay, John, can you hear me?
About that, guys, that totally just dropped out altogether.
Yeah. So you were kind of mid thought, I think, but if you could I don't know if you could jump back there.
Where did I drop out, man? Because I could still see you, but you obviously couldn't hear me.
It was like you were talking probably for like 30 seconds. So maybe I guess just like start over if you don't mind, and then.
Yeah, cool. When I started, I did have a lot of the fears and concerns that I think a lot of people have, like nobody can do this work as good as me. Is wrong. What if they do something to my site that damages my business somehow? I used to think, what if I just have to check all their work anyway? I might as well just do it myself. And I guess desire to not do the work that I wanted to outsource kind of ended up overcoming those fears. And I just thought, look, I'm just going to make it work. And so there was a bit of trial and error, absolutely. Not everything went perfectly to begin with. I tried working with some people who I had to end up, firing because they weren't at the point and the quality that I wanted them at. But, over that, I kind of built up a set of practices, hiring techniques and things like that I use now that really help me to find the best people to work with. I think, yes, a lot of people have those concerns about outsourcing, and I think it's like a lot of things. It ends up being much better than you think it will.
Yeah. So the fear, like a lot of people, I think fear stops a lot of people from getting started. So it sounds like, the frustration or whatever that you didn't want to do overcame. And that's just like, it's like me, I could relate to that because like if I can shortcut something, if I can, I'm one of those people, hey, I'll ask for directions right away. If I don't know where something is, I don't care because I want to go from point A to point Z the fastest amount of time possible. So, I try not to let my ego go into that too much. So good for you. It sounds like good for you. So, was there, okay, so you got the fear, you overcame your fear. What kind of like pitfalls did you run into for like both before and after outsourcing? It sounds like you gave a little bit of before, but then what were some things? It sounds like you had to let some people go, but if you could kind of expound upon that a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So I think, look, initially I just wasn't going through a rigorous enough process to select freelancers or VAs to work with. And this is something that I see when I talk to people about outsourcing now and they say, oh, I'm having these problems. If I go back with them to what process did you actually go through to hire or select the person that you're working through, they usually have the same problems. And you pretty much have to treat it like you're employing an employee. Like imagine if you were going to plonk somebody next to you to work with you full-time or part-time, you have to go through the same process. You should interview them. You should prepare questions. You should give them test work to do beforehand and pay them to do a little test and sample their work and what they're actually capable of. So not doing that initially, it took me a while to work out, that I needed to do that and how to do that correctly. And not doing that to begin with just meant that I was starting to work with people who didn't turn out to be the right fit or able to produce the work that I wanted. And so I had to, move on from them and find other ones. But really, once I got that down, that sort of process, I've experienced very few problems, of that sort.
Nice. So we have 18 viewers right now. There's been up to 30. It's kind of fluctuating. I know there's going to be, quite a few after. So let's see. We're going to get to your questions in just 1 second. But just to let everybody know, I'm on the phone with John Warren. He's a dropship lifestyle coach. He is an authority. I can say that in outsourcing because he's pretty much writing the course for us, the book. So, when you have your name on something or you have your face on something, and he's gonna be in there, and he's gonna be doing the outsourcing your Shopify store. So he's gonna be doing that mini course for us. It's gonna include the main guide. It's gonna include some SOPs. It's gonna include some videos, some short videos that gonna have more details on some of the written content. So that's coming in with Dropship Lifestyle 5.0 that we're going to be adding short term. So if you're looking at Dropship Lifestyle, if you're a member already, if you're already a member, you're going to get access to that information. If you become a member, you should have access to the outsourcing your Shopify store whenever we release it. So we got some feedback from the community, and John was gracious enough with it, with his time to work on these things to help the community, in addition to doing coaching calls. So let me kind of go into some questions that are coming in from the community. and then I'll get to the ones in the Facebook. Do we have how we're on time right now, John?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've got no restrictions here.
So thank you. So let's see what. Can you please suggest? This is from a. I don't want to butcher your name, so I like when people pronounce my name properly. So I'll try to give you the same respect. So I'm seeing a question from AMADOU, and they're saying, "Hey, can you please suggest me a great niche?" I'm guessing that's not going to be. That's probably for me. That would be a kind of a loaded question, but without I guess giving everything, just like the 50,000-foot view, what would you say is suggest a great niche? What would
Thanks for that question and putting me on the spot, pal. But I always make a point of never suggesting people exact niches to do. I mean, at the end of the day, you're starting a business and it's your business. That's a decision that you have to own. There's no point asking somebody to do it for you. But if I had a tip, I think where I like to look for niches is that I really like to look for niches that target a particular interest or passion that people have, a group of people or a community of people, right? Because from a marketing perspective, those sort of niches, as opposed to like a more generic niche like furniture or something like that, those sort of niches that a group of people are passionate about, and a big group of people, they're just gold from a marketing perspective. They are so much easier to market and sell to many times than if you're trying to sell coffee tables, and nothing against you if you do sell coffee tables. But so, thinking about things that people love to do. So, an example might be, you want to target people who love to ride horses, right? Huge community. Lots of people love to do that. So is there a product that people who love to ride horses need to fulfill that passion? And what is it? And does it fit the criteria? And if it does, then boom, you're off. That's it.
Yeah, so maybe pick, along the lines of something that you're passionate about, or someone is passionate about, that you can make work, and you can see through to results. You can go through the steps and make sure that, hey, this is going to be something I don't want to second guess. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to follow the steps and make it work. So, so that's great advice. There's someone else that says, what's good? It's Wally West. I think that's the name of Flash, someone on the Flash. But what's good? MFS. I don't know what that. Maybe manufacturers. Maybe I don't know how to answer that question, because there's manufacturers across niches. So is there anything you want to comment upon there?
I don't know what MFS is either. I'm missing that.
Yeah, and then there's BizZone Group. Give examples of some good niches. So I think we answered that. But I would definitely go through the course and see, especially the first and module 1, niche selection and market research. Winston says you get great advice, John! Exclamation point. So he likes what you were saying earlier. Skylight at dusk. John looks different to his image. Nice to see him.
I still got long hair. It's still there. Look.
Yeah. Let's see. Yes, good advice. Let's see what else is coming in. Steven is asking, can you talk about B2B versus the upper middle income demographic?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sure. I'd love to. And I've actually got experience with both. One of the niches I do at the moment has an element of B2B and, the B2C retail sector. Look, B2B can be really awesome. There are advantages to it, being that you can make often far larger orders. It's much easier often to get repeat business, because once you have a relationship with another business that you're selling to, often they will keep coming back to buy more and more and more. So that's, from that perspective, that's really good. The flip side of B2B stuff, though, is that the marketing is a bit different. And so you're not necessarily going to find B2B clients in a lot of niches through some of the marketing steps that we follow in the DSL course. So a lot of businesses don't go on Google Shopping to find suppliers, for example, or products that they need to buy. Some do, but a lot don't. The path to order can often be a lot longer. You know, with a lot of businesses, you have to go through a process of quoting, and then they have to go off to their accounts people and get, you know, approval to buy your products. And so you might talk to somebody and you don't make the sale for another month or so. So there's swings and roundabouts. B2B can be great. You can make a hell of a lot of money in it. But you are going to have to try different approaches to what's necessarily in the DSL course, which is focused on more on the retail side of things, to really make that store successful. You know, B2B relies a lot on relationships, and you're going to need to build some relationships with businesses in your industry to really get a lot out of it. But if you can do that, you know, it can be fantastic. I generally wouldn't recommend a fully B2B niche for somebody's first store, but it could be a great option for a second or third store once you've got, once you've got successful and you've got your head around all of the retail side of things in drop shipping, really will give you a leg up into the B2B space. Okay. But look, hey, if you feel confident about it and you think you've got a great B2B niche selected, particularly if it's one that you have personal experience in, maybe you've worked in it before and you know a lot of the players there, then I think, you know, you may well have a pretty good shot at making something successful there.
That's sound advice, yeah, for sure. I used to do relationship sales, B2B, and yeah, relationships are key. So you need to have those relationships. So great advice. So B2B, B2C, if on your first store, unless you have some maybe pre-existing relationships, and I guess B2B play, that might work. So good. Let's see what else we have coming in. Okay, so from Christian, we have, hi guys, hello. In my country, people pay stuff they ordered cash and delivery. They have cash on, I haven't heard that in a long time in the States, COD in other words in the States. But question is, do you have any idea how to deal with this kind of problem?
That's a very good question. I have personally very little experience with that. And look, I mean, realistically, there are still, places and countries in the world where e-commerce is not as developed yet as it is elsewhere. And if you're in a country that doesn't have a strong e-commerce market yet, in the sense that, you know, online payments are common and all of that sort of thing, certainly there is nothing stopping you from operating a business from where you live in another country like the US and taking advantage of that market until such a time as you can do the dropship lifestyle thing successfully.
Okay, great. Let me see. Wally West goes on to say, I'm really glad you said that. Whatever time you should be spent making an effort to get results. So good. Starlight at Dusk says, so happy he said that getting help to do the CSV. I was thinking about the same thing. Rowdy Cowboy 85 says I've had to refresh a couple of times, and that has seemed to help. Let's see. I would also like to hear about B2B, so we answer that. Yeah, I can help. Let's see what Skylight at Dusk goes on to say. I can not help but wonder whether I am the only one who struggles with technology. How do people get through that? So have you dealt with many students or members that have had a lot of technical issues, and what would you say to them?
Yeah, look, definitely you're not alone. You're not by any means the only current DSL student who does not either have a lot of history or a lot of experience or knowledge of technology, how to use things online and all of that sort of thing. So I think you're not alone. It's normal, but really the great thing about technology and the internet and, you know, online marketing and this sort of thing is that there is so much of it, and there is basically, if you're willing to look for it, the knowledge is available to you to find out how to do the things that you don't understand or don't know how to do. The internet is like a fantastic resource, and if you're prepared to search out the knowledge that you need, you will find it, and usually for free as well. But so, I mean, that may, you know, may mean that you progress at a different rate to other people in the course. But at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter how long it takes you. What matters is that you're prepared to do what it takes to get you to the destination you want to reach. So if you're in a situation where you feel that there's a lot of things that you don't know, just go looking for it, reach out to people. I mean, the DSL community itself, you know, you can find somebody who will be prepared to explain to you how to do the things that you don't need to do. Whether that's, you know, whether you're in the coaching program or not, I've always found, whether it's on the DSL forums or the Facebook groups, that certainly back when I was earlier in my journey, if I had a question or something, I was usually able to find somebody who would be able to help me out with getting me past whatever my sticking point was. But certainly when you're in that situation, I think you need to rely even more on that drive to just keep trying and keep finding, keep finding the answers that you need to move ahead. Because it's possible. I mean, you know, a lot of what we do sounds really complex, but I don't think it actually is. It really is something that anybody could do. You know, when I started, if you said Google AdWords to me, I would have looked at you like you had two heads. You know, I didn't.
Yeah, and people seem like and they like power down and stuff like that. But yeah, no.
Yeah, that was only a bit over 2 years ago, and now I'm starting to get people paying me to manage their Google AdWords in Australia.
Oh, wow.
You know, this is just because, you know, I love it, and I spend a lot of time just building up my personal knowledge. And now I'm in a position, only in the space of 2 years, where I can start asking people for money to do that for them. And if I can do it literally, I think anybody can.
Yeah, no, that's great. Me personally, I didn't get my first computer until I was 21. I didn't get my first mobile phone until after that. So you know, I just kept on pushing. I put more time into it, and what I didn't know, I looked up. You know, so there's so many resources online to you know, help you and dispel doubt or make you go down the rabbit hole and help you figure it out. You just keep on pushing. So let's see what else. Carlos goes on to say, would like advice on selling B2B. We answered that. Let's see. Joseph would like to know, so he's joining his, let's see, this is my joining a dropshipping live chat. Can you please give a simplified definition of what dropshipping is? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So dropshipping is basically where you, as the retailer, manages a place to sell something, which in our case is a website. When you sell a product on your website, so you don't hold any stock. When you sell a product on your website, you order that individual product or products from your supplier, who is another company, a brand, or a manufacturer, and they send that product direct from their warehouse or factory to your customer. And you pay the supplier for the product, your customer pays you.
Okay.
That's all it is?
Yep. Simplified definition. So how we're looking for time on your side?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, a bunch more questions, so I don't know. It's up to you. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Keep going.
Okay, well, I'll kind of skip around. So I'm going to come back to the YouTube channel, but let me make sure I get these questions answered for what came through on Facebook. Winston was asking, let's see, do you have a checklist of things for your virtual assistant to do daily, weekly, and monthly? And if so, how do you verify it's done?
Yeah, cool. Absolutely, I do, Winston. I have each of my ongoing VAs particularly has pretty much like a position description, like you would get if you took a job up, right? So, which tells them, what is expected of them, and that is, what their tasks are, how often they need to do them. So that might be daily, weekly, or monthly. And, that really is what sets them up to do their job. In terms of how I check, there's lots of ways. How do I know it's done? There's lots of ways you can check that, but usually, if it's website-based stuff or things in the back end, I'll just do spot checks, maybe once a week or something like that. So one of my VAs, their job might be to maintain the stock levels on the store in accordance with our supply stock levels. I'll just go in and check a few products randomly myself on the supplier side, and then look on my store to see that things are matching up there. And if they are, I know the job's being done correctly. If they're not, then there's obviously an issue. But really paying attention, some things are harder to check, obviously, like, customer service and all of this sort of thing. So you really do just have to pay, for a lot of things, attention to just keep an overview on what's going on in your business. If things on the customer service side are falling down, you're going to start receiving things from your customers to tell you that. The great thing about customers is if they're not having a good time, in my experience, they will usually let you know that quite forcefully. So you can jump on it and identify the problem pretty quickly. But I find generally just spot checking, catching up with your VAs, once a week, once a fortnight, and just getting them to tell you what they've been up to. Most people have a pretty good barometer for whether somebody's not explaining something to you that they've done well. That means you need to go and look at it, or ask them to give you, just say, can you just give me an example of what you've done or something like that. But yeah, that's generally what I do. Okay,
great. So let's see, moving on. So we have Jonathan, also from the Dropship Lifestyle Facebook Labs group. Let's see, if possible, here are a few. So if you could just kind of spitfire, give the quick answers for these. But his first one was how to know what traffic is converting at the right price and what is dead wood.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a great question. That absolutely is something that you need to be able to answer. And I guess the first step to that answer is actually identifying what is your upper limit of that you can spend on traffic for each sale. So, in relation to your profit margin on your products, what is your target spend for each sale? You need to know that, right? And the answer is different for every niche, obviously, but you need to identify that. From there, you need to have a great handle on your Google Analytics account, your AdWords conversion tracking, and those things are going to tell you, once you get to know how to use them, the information is in there to tell you for each of your traffic sources, whether it's Google Shopping, whether it's search text ads, whether it's social media, how much traffic they're generating, how many conversions are coming from that traffic, and at what cost. That information is all in your Google Analytics if you've got it set up properly.
Great. So he goes on to ask, question 2, valuable tips on how to best use Pinterest.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I'll be honest and say I don't use Pinterest a heck of a lot in Australia, but the first thing is to identify if using Pinterest, I'm going to assume for you, Jonathan, it does apply to your niche, but Pinterest isn't useful for every niche, right? Pinterest being a visual social network is really best for niches with a lifestyle element or a very visual element. You've got great looking products, that might be displayed in a very visual way. And so, if your niche doesn't fit that, then honestly, I just wouldn't actually bother with Pinterest. But if you're in the US, you can actually do paid marketing on Pinterest as well as the organic stuff. Unfortunately, in Australia, we don't have that.
You don't have promoted pins there?
No, we don't have promoted pins or Bible pins or anything. I wish we did, because it would suit one of my niches, and I email Pinterest like monthly to say, when are we getting it? And every month they say, oh, I don't know. So if I had that, I would definitely make use of promoted pins and Bible pins. But don't forget as well is that you can also use Pinterest as a great way to drive people to your content pages. So if you've got, blog posts with images attached to them, you can pin those images, like maybe the lead image from your blog post, into your Pinterest, and that will actually link to the whole post. So that's a way other than just pinning pictures of your products to really get people in.
Yeah, and to build on that, I use Pinterest sometimes because it helps me just organize some things and kind of look and see what I'm interested in and keep track of that. But I would build on that and say, kind of what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, find something that you're passionate about selling, maybe related to a hobby or otherwise, and find out what's out there. Look and see what's out there and see how it's visually appealing. Think about how maybe you can do it differently, test some things, and see how you might be able to get it to work for you. So let's see. Number 3, more details on landing page advertising to collect emails. Many thanks. So that's his last question.
Okay. Look, this is a pretty big topic, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Look, so I guess a landing page, can be many things. But so you're either landing page for collecting emails is generally for our stores either going to be a content page, a blog post, maybe a post with a video on it, or an actual landing page that you've set up. So you can, to promote a particular product. So you can use services like lead pages or something like that can fit into your Shopify store. But I think the keys for this is firstly, identify where your traffic is. And for most people, a great way to drive traffic to a landing page to collect emails is to use Facebook. An effective way to use Facebook is to use content to bring people in rather than sending people directly to product pages, etc. Because it's, marketing on Facebook isn't really a direct sell. So you want to bring people to a content page where you should have both an inbuilt email collection point. So maybe in the sidebar of the piece of content, there should be like a static, email capture form. And you should also have some form of pop-up or something to collect the email as well that either triggers on exit intent or after they've been on the page for a certain amount of time. And really the key to maximizing that is that everything needs to be consistent. So the thing that you put on Facebook to draw people in needs to carry the same message, the exact same message, look and feel as the landing page is sending them to. And then the email capture needs to be relevant to the piece of content that they're looking at. So because they've come to that content because they're interested in it. So don't put an email capture that says, if you'd like access to something completely different and unrelated, join our email list.
Right.
Make your pop-up specific as well. Don't say something like, oh, if you want to get a weekly newsletter, put your email address in, right? People put a value on their email address, and you need to give them a specific form of value that you are going to deliver to them, in return for their email address. So if you've sent them to a piece of content that is about how to buy a coffee table, then your pop-up should also be saying some additional, that people should sign up for some additional ways that you are going to help them to buy the right coffee table.
Yeah.
And then you have to deliver on that.
A checklist.
Yeah. Whatever. It could be anything.
Right.
But it all has to be related. You can't send different messages, but if you keep it all related and clear, then you will maximize the number of signups you can get out of your landing pages.
Yeah, and make sure to build on that. Make sure you deliver on that value that people are expecting, and get some feedback from your friends and family and stuff like that. So, for sure. Let's see what else is coming in. Where do you find freelancers and what is expected? So I'll kind of answer what my quick take on that is. I've seen them go from, it depends on part-time. You can hire someone just by the job to like part-time to full-time, like John was saying. Job by the job could be any amount of money. It depends on how long the job is, and then it could be from a few $100s a month from what I've seen to probably just over $1,000. And I've seen some recently. You can, and we'll include this in the Outsource Your Shopify store. But I've seen them where there's agencies where we talked to Davin Michaels recently, where he has a 1-2-3 employee, where they have like a PM that manages the process. So if they're out one day, they make sure that the work gets done. So there's agencies like that, or outsourcing agencies like that. Then there's a one-on-one. You could go to like Upwork. You can go to different places, and there's also places where you can like headhunters get the people to find the talent for you based off of your criteria. So, but if you want to expand, like if you want to do Volzat, how much you pay or where you find, it's up to you.
Yeah, cool. Look, most people are going to start off with freelance arrangements because they are generally cheaper. And usually, if you're starting out with outsourcing early, you're not going to be needing as many hours as a lot of agencies will want you to commit to. So if you're looking for freelance, Upwork, onlinejobs.ph for people who work in the Philippines, great English speakers. Those are probably my two go-to sources, followed by, for some of those smaller one-off tasks, Fiverr is still a great option, to be honest. There's some great people that you can find on Fiverr to do a whole bunch of, small, maybe even not so small tasks. The price range can vary wildly depending on what it is that you're actually getting someone to do, and how much work you're getting them to do. From there, though, going to, if you're looking for ongoing, VAs, whether it's to do your customer service or just manage your store, I actually do recommend using an agency. I think that offers you a more checkable, higher quality, a bit more security, and it does cost a little bit more, but in my experience, you get a better reward. Look, in terms of what I pay for a 40 hours per week VA through my agency, I pay. What do I pay? 1,700 Australian a month.
Yeah, I think it was like 1,300. I don't know.
Yeah, it's about 1,300 US at the moment, I think, something like that. So I pay that a month. That's on the upper end, though, to be honest. I do pay. That's more than you need to pay. You can get a good outcome for less money than that. But I feel that I get from that particular company, which is an Australian company, so it's not relevant for US students, but I do get a very good quality of work. Like the quality is very high for that amount of money. I'm impressed. I don't think I would do better with somebody, here in Australia working directly for me.
Yeah, and I saw in your recent post. So I'm going to again link it underneath. But you have 2 people you work closely with, and there's nothing like. I mean, hopefully you agree with this. There's nothing like peace of mind that your work is getting done, and also you can work on those other business ventures and, like you said, do some paid traffic, dropship lifestyle coach. You're looking at a couple e-commerce plays from private labeling to drop shipping. So you have a lot going on. So I'm sure there's nothing like that feeling of being able to hand it off and say, hey, look, this is getting done and I can focus on other things. So that's a great feeling.
Yeah, it takes a weight off your shoulders once you got it running successfully, for sure. Right,
yeah. And that question, by the way, was from Denise. So Wally West, and we'll just go through them just like as quick as possible. There's, oh my God, I don't know if we'll be able to get through all of them. The ones that we can't get to, we'll make sure you post it somewhere underneath again, because we'll get to them as many as we can on this call. But afterwards, we'll see what we can answer as well. But everyone asking questions. Most of the stuff's, pretty much all the stuff's covered in the course, and it's all covered in what we're adding to Dropship Lifestyle. So if you're a member already, it's incoming. So in the next few weeks, month or so, we don't have an exact date. I can't give that to you yet, but it's being added to the course. A lot of the things that you're asking it's already in the course. But let's see. Trying to see if we have couple more. Let's see. This is from Wally West again. How much did you start out making your first couple months of selling? I think you may have touched on this, but just in case, how much did you make starting out the first couple months of selling, and then when did you know you could quit your job? So you kind of touched upon that, but then just, I guess, clicking into it.
I'll do it quickly, yeah. So my first store actually didn't start off as quickly as some people's. I think if I looked at my first 3 months, in terms of sales, it probably went something like 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 in sales by my first 3 months. But then from there, it kind of just kept adding sort of, then it went from 10,000 to 20,000. Then, as I said, up to 30, 40,000, where it's then plateaued for a while. I think it took me, around 12 months till I got to the level of income that I needed to quit my job. And for me, that was exactly replacing my income that I previously had. That was the goal that I needed to reach. If I lived in Thailand, I could have quit a lot earlier, but I happened to be needing to live in Australia at the time, which is one of the most expensive places to live in the world, unfortunately. So I did need to get my dropshipping income to a pretty decent level before I could quit.
Okay, great. Let's see. What has been your best ways of generating free traffic?
I think probably I'd say working with content for one, I should say. Good quality, I can't even believe I even had to think about that. Good quality content on your site in the form of blog posts or just other forms of written content. Really, for me, I have pieces of content that have been on my site for over 12 months, some 2 years, that, send in 20 or 30 people per day, because they rank very well for topics that are relevant to my niche in Google. and they just keep generating traffic. And I wrote them myself. I didn't spend any money on that. Outside of that, though, I would say that if I had to generate a lot of free traffic, I would be looking for opportunities to work with other bloggers in my niche. And probably, once again, along the lines of guest posting for them, or thinking of different ways that you can work together to sort of come up with some value for their readers. But I think the best way to free traffic is really through content, because once it's online, it just sits there. You don't even really, you can update it every now and then, but man, it can just sit there for years, sending you traffic. And if you look at some of the biggest blogs in the world, like Tim Ferriss is a great example. We mentioned him before. He regularly says that his highest traffic posts and things that he's done are actually from 3 or 4 years ago. And still today, they are the highest, delivering the highest amount of traffic. So
that makes sense, because that's kind of what got him there in the first place, putting out that content. So
good long form content, man.
Foundations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you connected with Jose, and I'll have to link that underneath there. So there's gonna be a lot of links. So I know you connected with Jose at the recent retreat in Hawaii. So he wrote a blog post on the process that John is kind of covering right now. So you're gonna get some helpful hints and tips by that post. So make sure you review that post. Let's see. Someone's asking about FBA. Message me directly. I can go over that with you later. Let's see. What type of approaches recommend? We kind of went over the B2B. I don't think we have much more time, so I'll just see if there's another question or two, and then we'll have to wrap this up. Suppliers. I think you kind of touched upon this, but again, I don't want to butcher your name. REDIM. How did you go about finding suppliers in Australia? You kind of touched upon that, but is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. Finding suppliers in Australia can be difficult, particularly if you're looking for ones who you can definitely tell are drop shipping. The answer is, in Australia, it is best just to find any supplier of the product that you want to sell. Don't worry about whether you can tell that they're already drop shipping, and just go and have a conversation with them. So you might find them on other websites, but usually you will need to Google search, say whatever product it is you want to sell, plus keywords like manufacturer, supplier, importer, distributor, wholesaler, and just troll through the organic Google listings, and you'll start finding their websites. And then you just need to call them up.
Okay, awesome. And we give some of the scripts and stuff like that in the course, and you guys. But the main thing is for me at least in sales and marketing and everything like that, you gotta appeal to, think about who you're talking to, and you gotta appeal to, or add value to their day. So if you're gonna help them make sales, you got to make it easy for them. You got to add value to what they're doing. You got to think about, get yourself in their mindset and try to think about what they would want to hear and see and everything. So I think that's really important of who you're talking to. So earlier we mentioned about the new content coming. Like I said, it's going to come. It's going to be incoming in the next 2-3 weeks to a month or so. Just watch out. So if you subscribed, Sky's Light at Dusk. If you subscribe to any of our lists, just keep an eye out for the more information on 5.0, Dropship Lifestyle 5.0. Winston says, thank you, John. Great thank you, John and Adam, for the questions, for that question, checking on VAs. How do you pay VA in Philippines? Where are your VAs located, John?
Yes, they're located in the Philippines.
How do you pay them?
I pay them either, if it's my ongoing ones, I pay the agency directly.
Right.
Or a international bank transfer, and then the agency pays them in their local currency, like a regular job. So yeah, I don't actually pay them directly, to be honest.
Okay, great. So there's some other questions. There's someone asking about PageRank, Wayfair, Home Depot. I don't, Amazon, etc. to avoid. I'm not clear on that question, but I mean, if you're running paid traffic, if you're doing some of the free methods we were talking about, you look at your competition, try to distinguish yourself from them, have a good converting, good design store. Work on all those things, leverage coaches, leverage the community. If you're part of the community, Stephen, those are all ways to, I would think, hopefully that answers sort of your question around about way, but I don't exactly understand what the question is. But I appreciate everyone hanging out. We've been on this for a while. I appreciate John's time. He took a lot of time out of his day to make sure he answered a lot of your questions. So, John, in closing, what do you have any closing thoughts, any comments, anything that you'd want anybody else watching this to know?
Oh, look, I just think, really, wherever you're at in your journey, I know I speak to a lot of people in the coaching who are, concerned that, they're struggling, or they're not, they're not quite, they just don't feel like they're making progress, or these sorts of things. I think wherever you're at in your journey, it's actually the point you want to get to isn't really that far away. And there are a lot of times where I felt that way, and it would have been very easy to give up and go back to sort of my safe job and income. Mm-hmm. But, that would have been the worst thing I could ever done, because I reckon within about a month of the points I wanted to give up, things had flipped completely, and I was, where I had hoped I would be. So, if you're just getting started in your journey, I think, I would want people to take away, just don't give up. Like, just keep working away. This stuff works, guaranteed. If you but you have to keep working at it. I don't think, I think the worst thing you can do for yourself as a person is to give up on something that you really want to achieve. So it gets tough at points. This isn't a magic carpet ride, but if you can push through those tough points, you'll be a better person yourself, and you'll find the life and the income or whatever that you want to achieve. So,
awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it made me think about a story. There's I'm sure you heard the stories about in the gold rush in California, and people were searching for gold, and they would dig away, and they stopped. There was a lot of people that stopped like a foot or two, or inches even, from where the gold was, because they just they lost hope, they lost doubt. But like, if you keep on pushing, you keep on driving it, and like John did, and a lot of the people that I speak with, they keep on pushing through all the barriers because they have a big why, or they have something that propels them towards that goal. So great sound advice, John, and thanks for your time again. Anyone that has any questions, please post them somewhere below this video, wherever channel you see that, and we'll get to them the best we can. Again, 5.0, Dropship Lifestyle 5.0 is going to be around the corner, so look out for email on that. Part of what John's working on is going to be part of that, which is outsourcing your Shopify store. He's also working on a guide on how to drop ship outside the United States. So there's some information coming on that. So make sure that you keep tuned in for that. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you got some value out of it. Like it, share it. And until next time, I really appreciate it, John. Have a great, morning where you're at.
Yeah, awesome. Good to talk to you guys.
Thank y'all. Bye.